Meanwhile, the minister also making a U-turn on the proposed expansion of zero-rated food items. During his last failed budget, that was in March, Godongwana announced that some essential goods would be exempt from VAT. This was aimed, of course, at shielding households already overburdened by high prices. Let's bring in Hoodah Abrahams-Fayker. She's the National Advocacy Manager at Black Sash. Hoodah, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much for joining us. And of course, the minister would have expanded, right? In March, he announced that he would have expanded the list of zero-rated goods. How much of a blow is this for poorer households?
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting Black Sash to be able to engage on this issue. I mean, the idea of the zero-rated goods was obviously to counter the VAT increase. Mm-hmm. And so with the reversal of that decision, where VAT is staying at 15%, they've now tried to counter what gains would have been made. So it is a blow because we know that the cost of living is very expensive. Mm-hmm. We also now have to address the issue of the fuel levy, because that will also have implication for the traveling costs, as well as anticipating an increase in food prices with the fuel levy increase.
So are you saying if the VAT increase did go ahead and we expanded the zero-rated food items, that would have almost cancelled each other out?
No, not necessarily, not at all. That was the sort of narrative of the minister. Mm-hmm. But we know that the foods is not controlled by government in terms of price increases. So we wouldn't be able to manage that to make sure that it will actually have helped social grant beneficiaries or those living on the lifeline in terms of affordability.
Right, and that was the point the minister made as well, Hoodah, the fact that even with the expansion of zero-rated goods, it wouldn't have guaranteed reduced food prices, which I think is what you're saying.
Yes, definitely. There's no guarantee. That was sort of the narrative being pushed by the minister. But now, even besides that, you now have the fuel levy increase, which is a challenge, and also the fact that social grant increases are not going to increase according to the inflation rate over the next 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the fuel levy in just a moment. I just want to stay with this list of zero-rated goods. I mean, the last time this list was increased was back in 2018, right? If we had gone ahead with the expansion of this basket of zero-rated goods, we would have actually seen meat products included on the list there as well.
Yes, no, I mean, it would have been a step, but like you say, there's no guarantee. Mm. And in the long run, I don't think there would have been an impact where monies from social grants would be able to address and respond to the VAT increase solely by the zero-rated foods list being extended.
So do you reckon, following the tabling of the fiscal framework yesterday, particularly what you've just mentioned about social security not being increased according to inflation, are the poor worse off today following the tabling of that fiscal framework?
I mean, there are a lot of issues. I mean, first of all, Black Sash has consistently indicated that the social relief of distress grant is below the food poverty line, as well as the child support grant. And those are important grants that help families to be able to survive. Mm. And so this reluctance by the minister to commit to a permanent social assistance for the unemployed is really a concern, because there is no jobs available. There is also the implication that the minister indicated that there will be incentives for employment, that grants may become conditional, and that's something that Black Sash will definitely oppose and takes issue with, because there are no jobs and there is a responsibility on government to provide for those that cannot support themselves at the moment, complemented definitely by job creation, but in the absence of jobs, that there should be that support.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that we need to move away from a social relief of distress grant, which is extended year after year. I mean, the minister in the roundtable this morning said that the SRD is here to stay. It's a project that is close to the president's heart. And yet on paper, it's extended now, we know, until 2026. But what we need is a basic income grant.
Yes, definitely. And also the amount of the grant is important, because to make an impact, you're going to need to make the amount at, at a value that can be sustainable, that can actually help for the unemployed to get jobs. I mean, with 370 Rand, you can barely buy a loaf of bread for the day. And so the challenge where you're looking at young people where there is high unemployment, for them to be able to look for jobs, to have data, to travel, and now you've got the fuel levy increase. How much is that actually going to help, unless there's a serious commitment not only to make it permanent, but also to increase the value of the grant? There's also systemic challenges in terms of determining whether you're eligible and whether you qualify. So that criteria is purposefully or intentionally narrow so that it excludes the most of the unemployed because of the budget cap. So I think those are serious considerations when you're looking at the commitment for making the social relief of distress grant permanent.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about systemic challenges, Hoodah, we would have seen part of that discussion unfolding even in the White House yesterday, where President Cyril Ramaphosa was in the Oval Office with Donald Trump. The fact of the matter is we need to ignite our economy. We need to get our young people, the bulk of our young people are sitting at home without jobs. We need to get them skilled and into work.
Yes, definitely, but it must be complemented with jobs and social assistance, because it mustn't be conditional where you will get a grant if you find work. So I think that is something that we must strongly object to, because the job creation, people want to work. They're able-bodied, they're between 18 and 59, and they want to work, but they cannot find jobs.
And we know that 15 to 34 age group, right, are incredibly vulnerable in terms of the young people who are unemployed. The fact of the matter is, Hoodah, that we have a 75 billion Rand budget shortfall, and we need to find that money somewhere. But then at what cost, and at what cost to the most vulnerable in our society?
Well, I think the budget must be looked at through a human rights lens, because I think we have evidence as Black Sash and other civil society organizations that by investing in the people, there will be more increased economic activity, which will lead to economic growth.
Yeah. Is Black Sash having these kinds of conversations with those in government? Are you part of these kinds of roundtable discussions?
We're trying to engage. We extend invitations to both Treasury and the relevant departments as well as Presidency. But it's not been where we actually sit at the table and are in a position to share the evidence that we do have.
It's a wasted opportunity, isn't it? Because, of course, your organizations, other organizations like Black Sash as well, you actually work in communities.
Yes, and we, through our evidence gathering and community-based monitoring, we know what is happening on the ground, and we have a direct link to communities to be able to share for themselves their experiences.